Let's take a look at how to use the awesome new 3D camera tracker. To follow along, please open up in your Workfiles folder a piece of footage called Farm Fresh. I'm going to go ahead and open mine too. So I'm going to create a brand new composition. I'll leave mine at the defaults from my system, and I'm going to simply go to File, Import File. I'm going to bring in the two files you guys are going to have, which are the farmfresh.mov, which is a movie that I shot at a farm, at some film equipment, and a farmfresh.png, which is the sign that we're going to use to replace a sign that's already in this footage. So let's go ahead and bring these two in. And I'm going to drag the farmfresh.mov right here to create a brand new comp. And this is important because we need to make sure that the footage matches the comp size. So drag it right here instead of dragging it into the comp window or down here in the timeline. When I scrub through this footage, you'll notice that we have this sign here on this corn planter. And we're going to replace that sign with this PNG. Now you might be wondering, what's the big deal? Well, we're going to use the 3D camera tracker to analyze this footage. And what it's going to do is going to know what's near and what's far and what's moving and all kinds of great stuff. It's quite remarkable. So to do so, I'll go to my first frame and I'm going to right click here on my footage and choose Track Camera. We'll give it a couple of seconds to analyze. But by the way, because it says analyzing in background, that means you could still work if you need to. You don't have to stop and wait for this process. But for now, I'm just going to do it because it's a very quick process. And we can see an update right here as to what's happening. Now that the camera has solved the problem of what's where, let's go ahead and maximize this guy so we can see what's going on. So as you can see, we have these large crosses and we have some back here, all right? And when I hover my mouse inside of the footage, we get all these triangles. And these are indicating the depth and the angle and all kinds of stuff that the people at Adobe, who I firmly believe are aliens from another planet, come up with. So let's not talk too badly about them because I don't want them to abduct me. But then again, I might because they're cool. So what I'm going to do now is choose one of these points to lock the sign onto. And just in case there are too many of these track points for you to deal with and you don't want to see them, feel free to simply drag your mouse inside of this window, grab some, right click on them, and delete the selected points. The camera will solve again, but it takes almost no time, and then you're good to go. I'm going to go ahead and restore frame size. And I'm going to simply right click on one of these points here. I like this guy right here, the green one. And I'm going to choose to create a solid and a camera. You could also, if you want to, lock text on or a null. No matter which one you choose, it's going to move along with the sign because this little track point is stuck to this sign now. So I'm going to go ahead and choose solid and camera. But before I do that, let me just go ahead and just play this back so you can watch how this point does not move. It's because of that we know for sure that our solid is going to stay put. So I'm going to go ahead and right click and choose create solid and camera. And now what I want to do is change the properties of that solid because it is there, but we have to tell it what size it needs to be. So I'm going to go down to my timeline, choose the track solid, and go to the layer and choose the solid settings. From here, we could rename this if we want to, and we can also change the size. And we'll see that in this area. So I'm going to go ahead and lock the aspect ratio and simply scrub to the right just to increase the size a little bit so I can then take it from here. I'll hit OK. I can move it in position and I can resize it. Now it's not perfect. So what can we do about that? Well, we can add a distortion if we need to. So we can go to the Effect menu, choose Distort, and choose something like a Mesh Warp, which you'll find also inside of Photoshop. Now, unfortunately, as we see here, there are too many rows and too many columns. It will make manipulating this a little difficult. So I'm going to dial both of these to 1 because I only need to move the corners. So I'm going to move this corner here, move that one there, this one here, and this one here. Now you can always come back later on by simply clicking Mesh Warp again, and you can go ahead and reposition those if you need to. And as usual, I'm more interested in showing you guys the technique as opposed to spending time cleaning things up. Now that we have everything, let's once again just see if it stays there. So I'm going to click down here to deselect and scrub. And that's exactly what I want to see. Now, what we need to do at this point is bring our image, Farm Fresh, into this solid and then manipulate it further if we need to. So we're going to talk about how to do that in the following lesson.